happy to have you all on board for our PyLadies Meetup today. I'm gonna give you a quick introduction about what's coming up today. So we will start with a short introduction, and then we have our non-coding superpower talk coming up, a related talk to our industry, but it's not about coding at all. So then we have a break, so to get you all sorted, and then we'll start with the main topic for today. It's the introduction to data analysis and front-end development, which we showcase the Boulder Gym app that we introduced already in the last meetup. We just go one step further to show you the progress of this project. Then we have actually a little exercise so you can code along and try out different things that Angelina and Anna have showcased in this project. And you can ask questions, and if you stumble about or over some things, you can talk about it and also show us what you found out while you go along in the exercise. That would be cool. And that's also already kind of slightly our Q&A session then before we end the meetup. But for those of you who haven't been in a PyLadies meetup before, let me just introduce our community. So PyLadies is actually an international community. It's not just based in Berlin. We have several chapters all over Germany, but also internationally, like worldwide. And what we want to achieve with this is introducing a comfortable space for people to learn about tech, especially about Python. But we also want to build a diverse Python community and support women to become active members in this community. If you want to start coding, or if you want to start an open source project, we're here to help you and to also maybe kickstart your career. And just to give you a quick overview, this is all PyLadies chapters that are worldwide. So there's actually more than this. Something else I want to show you is this pretty cool project here. It's a data science project from Reshama, a PyLady from New York. And she actually was digging into a lot of resources about who's active, how many members all the chapters have, where are they actually based, what is it doing, and it's worth checking it out. She also made a YouTube video about how she collecting the data and visualizing all this. So it's definitely worth checking it out. As I said, we kind of see ourselves as a bridge into the wide Python world and into the tech community for everybody. But first of all, we want to empower women to become active coders and speakers as well. We provide a respectful atmosphere to share knowledge. We do not tolerate harassment, and we also want you to be aware of this and accept our code of conduct and follow this along. So you can read it up. Under this URL, you just see, would be great if you respect this, maybe not even in the meetup, also in everyday life, because it's worth to improve the tech community with this kind of thoughts. And what else is the Berlin chapter about? So actually, we were founded in 2013. That's already 8 years ago, and I'm always excited about to see that how long ago it is already, because we do have monthly meetups, like one of those today. And we sometimes also have a full day workshop where we show topics that need a bit more space and a bit more time to evaluate it and to dig deeper in the code. And we also have like different levels of experience in those workshops. So we sometimes write requirements in the meetup page as well. So you can see if you need to install something already, or if you need some basic knowledge. But don't be shy to come around anyway. It's always worth learning something new. If you were always wondering if you can get involved yourself, yes, you can, because we always want to have new speakers on board, new women who work on cool projects, and just join us as a speaker or do a workshop, or you can even join as an organizer for the meetup. That's also very much appreciated. We also need coaches every once in a while for workshops. So that means you don't have to prepare a talk or anything. You can just code along and help with questions and answer them, and provide experience that you have if you are already like working with Python for a while. So this is also something you could help us out with. And how to reach out, the best way actually is if you contact us on Slack. So this is the international PyLadies Slack channel you see here. Join it and yeah, also ask questions about Python, find answers, find other community members, maybe also jobs or jobs postings. And there you will find the City Berlin group or channel. And this is everything that happens in Berlin and that we share. We also share the slides and the YouTube link once the video is online from the workshop. So this is our focus channel, but you can also find other international channels there. The Python community in Berlin is actually pretty big. So there's not just PyLadies, there's also other stuff coming up. PyBerlin, I want to emphasize, they have cool meetups. Also, there's one coming up on the 19th. PyData Berlin is joining forces with their Hamburg dependency. And Women Who Code Berlin is also another meetup group, which I can highly recommend. They will be having other meetups in July as well. Yeah, who are you actually listening to today? This is me, I'm Heike, I'm a QA software engineer. I'm based in Berlin. Gabriela and Miki will be following up right now with the non-coding superpower talk. The tech sorcerers at sennder, and I think they're just gonna, tell you what this all is about.
So, hey everybody, so excited to be here. Thank you, Heike, for the introduction. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, so again, my name is Gabriela and Miki, and I am gonna share this non-coding superpower talk on how to boost your personal brand, really align with how to grow in your career, boosting your personal brand, especially on LinkedIn. That is a professional network, is a really interesting tool for all of us. So now we're gonna share that with you. It's a 5-minute talk, so we're gonna be a little bit fast, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask it at the end or connect with us so we can follow up that. So a little bit about us. Yeah, we've been introduced, but yeah, I'm a technical sourcer. I've been sourcing and recruiting internationally. Mainly, I started in Buenos Aires, Argentina, because I'm from there. And now, since I moved to Europe and to Berlin, I've been focusing more on the European market. And my main goal and passion is to build diverse work environments. So I'm really happy to be here with this great PyLadies tech community. Fun fact about me, I'm an astrology and tarot fan, so I love all of esoteric and crazy stuff. That's a little bit about me to share. And Miki, do you want to present and introduce yourself?
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Miki. Thank you for having us today. And our company sennder is Python House. So we'd love to contribute today to our local Python community by sharing our knowledge. So hopefully you get some knowledge from us today.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Miki. Yes, quickly speaking, and I don't want to bore you with this, but we work at sennder, and sennder is a logistic tech company with a, if I mention logistic, it sounds kind of boring, but the mission is really great. That is to unlock sustainable transport using AI and innovative technology. And we are growing, getting bigger, and hopefully we can build a great, diverse, and inclusive team. We are looking forward to that. So now let's start with our superpower tech talk and non-tech talk, sorry. And to start with, we want to introduce you what is personal brand, because it sounds obvious, but it's good to make an introduction. So with no further ado, Miki, do you want to start with that?
Yes, so maybe you have heard about the personal brand, but if I show this logo or face of product, maybe all of you recognize or identify something what they are, or maybe automatically pop up some celebrity's face or company in your mind. This is a personal brand. So your personal brand is how to promote yourself. So you use your personal branding to differentiate yourself from the others. So it gives you the opportunity to highlight your strengths and your passions. For example, when you see this black apple, what image do you think? Maybe you may pop up some of them. Some of you might pop up some famous icons, Steve Jobs. So maybe Steve Jobs has a quite unique character, such as strong leadership or clear vision, strong confidence in himself. So that's the personal branding, and personal branding also helps people believe they know you well, even though they never met you. So for example, again, Steve Jobs, I never met him, or I actually never read his books, but I know him and as a charismatic leader. So that's the power of personal branding.
Yeah, I would like to add my take on it, and is a unique combination of skills and experience that make you who you are, and taking the time to think about what makes you unique about your skills and experiences, and putting and presenting yourself in that way. That's really important. So we're mentioning two things here. Uniqueness and how to present yourself, and being authentic. So that's important too. Yeah. So why are we talking about this, and why it's important to think and consider your own personal brand? Okay, so it's key to your professional success, and is a great way to emphasize your strength and passions and differentiate that. Probably here we have you have great Python skills, let's say, but what makes you different from another Python, let's say, developer or engineer? So here comes personal branding to help you as a key to power and boost your career. So yeah, it's a way to be yourself, and but to really present and in an authentic way. It's really good because you build trust. Again, we're talking about trust to prospective clients and employers, if you're a freelancer, to clients, and if you are looking for a job, to employers. But before even thinking about how to boost it and how to create it, it's important to think about your goal. So what is your goal? I would say, is it finding a new job opportunity, a dream job, growing your career, networking, finding mentors, also connecting with others because you need technical advice, career advice. So there are many things that can, many goals you may have, and it's important to think that beforehand. So we have present you here a few questions that you can write down and try to answer. Then who is your audience depends with your goal. So is it future employers? Is it other Pythonistas, Python developers that you need to network? You want to build a community around it. You want to share with them. Is it college students? You want to mentor somebody. So it depends who is your audience also. What do you want to share of that uniqueness of yourself? And where can you start doing that? Okay, so there are many ways. It can be Twitter, it can be GitHub, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. But our recommendation is to start in LinkedIn. Basically, it's the professional network for you to start building these sustainable relationships. And it has 600 million users. All of them open because why you would open a profile on LinkedIn to connect. So these people will be open to connect with you. So our advice is to start at LinkedIn. And it will be good for you to read these questions and start to answer yourself to decide what do you want to share from yourself. So now we explain what is personal brand and why it's important to work on it and boost on it. And now we're going to go into the specifics on our tricks and tips, and how can you improve and get better on your LinkedIn profile, especially talking.
So we have summarized a couple of important points here on what's the keywords or what's the skill to optimize your LinkedIn profile. But I think it's better to just show you the some demonstration quickly. So first, when we think about that LinkedIn profile, why LinkedIn is strong, because a lot of people using, so it comes up to the Google search result of the top page. So for example, if I search my name, it shows my LinkedIn profile on the top of the Google search. And you can see that there are a lot of information actually showing on the Google results. You can see my name and you can see where I am. Sorry, I'm still in Ireland. So it shows Ireland. And also it shows my title and where I'm working. And also it shows that my, how could I say, sorry, my headline that gives you the 111 characters here, and also it shows my summary here. So that's a great thing about using LinkedIn, because it's gonna show up on the top of the Google page, and it also shows a little bit about your information. And so you would write here the headline, and it's actually able to put 120 characters. So I put here, because my audience is engineer, because my role is hiring tech talents. So I put that stuff who I am talking about. So my title is Sosa, but Sosa is quite a jargon title in recruitment world. So I give that the more details what I'm doing, and then also that puts that action, call to action. So I'm asking the engineer to join our company, and here through agile environment is kind of benefit what they can get. So that's that I put in a headline to talk to audience and put the call to action. And also that here the summary, you can put summary, I think you can put a lot of words. Sorry, I'm gonna check what I said. And you can, it's gonna show on the Google search 6 words, but summary is you can able to put about 200 words. So it is good to write that what you are doing more details. And also I put that I have over 5 years of experience in recruiting variety tech roles, but it only shows till here on the Google result. But you know, from the context, people kind of understand what I want to say. So it is also be aware what's gonna be on the Google result search. And then I put that 50% talking about myself and 50% talking about my company, but it really depending on what your audience and what your goal by having LinkedIn. So I also put my contact details to get that call to action and also link. So that's that I'm doing. And also that's a picture and headline, because my goal to have LinkedIn is really for my work to hiring engineers. So I put that my company head company background here, and also try to be a professional, because LinkedIn is professional network, and this gonna be that first impression to see me by audience. So I try to put a bigger picture rather than so that it's more upper shoulder and have a smile and look at camera. This is also important to give good impression as much as possible. So yeah, that's from my side. And go back to Gabby. Anything to add?
Yeah, no, just a good advice is think about your goal. What is your audience? What do you want to share about that is unique about yourself? And think about the keywords that are going to be appear. It's important. Again, LinkedIn makes you appear on the Google search at the beginning. Try to search in our names and you will see ourselves at the beginning. And I have a pretty typical common Argentinian name. Still, I will be there. And a good thing is about when you answer all of the questions about yourself that you will have in this presentation is share it with some friends, with some colleague, and ask for the advice and feedback on how they read that about yourself. And my other advice is connect and be personal. Adding your LinkedIn, what are you looking for, and how do you want people to connect with you? Is it via Twitter? Is it via email? Is it via a LinkedIn message? Put it there, and the idea is to network and try to customize this. Don't be afraid also to reach out to people that you look forward to work with, or you look forward to networking with them. They will be really open to do that. Two of my biggest career mentors, I have managed to contact them via LinkedIn, and I didn't know them before, and they were really open to connect and network with me. So that's my advice too. Yeah, from my side, that's it. Thank you for listening to us. And I don't know if we have any minutes for you to do any questions to ask about our experience with LinkedIn and personal brand. But thank you for listening again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Miki. Thank you, Gabriela. We do have some time for questions, sure. So if you just want to put it in the chat, or you can also unmute yourself and speak up if you have some questions. I think generally for me, it was very interesting to hear also to very emphasize on the first 120 characters, because this is going to end up under Google search. This is actually a good point, though, to put the important keywords you want to be found for in the first part.
Exactly. Yeah. And try to keep it up to date if possible. That's also interesting. Yeah, from our side, you can connect it via LinkedIn. You have our links there. I will put our links in the chat. So if you have any questions about how you can boost your LinkedIn profile, we are kind of experts in it because we work with it every day. So feel free to reach out to us and we can give you many more advice.
So it can be the first mentor, actually, they reach out to.
Sure. Thank you.
And while we have a little short break, I actually have a poll for you. So because our upcoming section of the meetup will be about data analysis and front-end development with Python. And we were wondering maybe if you're more interested in some specific topics. So we have 3 more minutes of a little break where you can go through the poll and yeah, check out if you have something to drink or to write, even to take some notes. All right, so we got some answers from the poll. That's interesting. So people are, yeah, I think interested in a lot, in the whole range that I think Angelina will be covering though. But we have a slide emphasize on validation and visualization of data. Oh, that's cool. Okay, thanks for answering the poll. So let me introduce our main speakers to you. Anne and Angelina, they pulled up a special project during Corona time for themselves. And that's why we have those 3 in total meetups about the project, because they were digging into new technology so much that we actually have so much to talk about. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to you.
Music.
Yeah.
So welcome to our talk. It is the second talk of our series of Boulder Gym Project, which we started building in September. In the first meetup, we covered data acquisition, so how to get the data from scraping. This meetup will cover data analysis. Our app, we have a website that you can check. Our app checks how full Boulder gyms are. So the Boulder gyms in the website, they have a slider with a percentage of how full they are. We get that data and then we show it. We show some statistics. How full was this particular gym yesterday, or what is the average occupancy on a Tuesday in this particular gym. It sounds easy and simple when I say it, but it took a lot of work, a lot of months to make it into this app that actually works. I think Heike posted a link in the chat. Yeah, Angela, thanks. So about us, I can introduce a little bit about us. Thanks for that. About me, I'm Anne from the Basque Country in Spain. I studied NLP in Munich, so natural language processing, a branch of machine learning. I have experience in Python, a bit of machine learning, NLP, and now I'm working as a DevOps. I have too many project ideas. Some people don't have any. I have the opposite problem. I have too many, and then I never finish them. This has been one of the few projects that I started and that I actually managed to at least make it work. I don't think it's finished. I don't think it will ever be finished, but at least now it works and it's satisfactory to be able to get that. About my hobbies, I like Indian food a lot, too much, and some techno music sometimes, and books. And I will leave the stage to Angelina.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining as well. And that was a great talk earlier. So a bit about myself. I actually graduated studying mechanical engineering. I'm actually based in London and an active part of the PyLadies London group. So last year I actually got a machine learning internship, which was great. And I met Anne after that ended. But I'm excited to say that I'll be starting a data science master's in September part-time. And a little bit about me is that I like traveling. If anyone can guess where that picture is taken, maybe put it in the chat, that's fun. I also like fitness. I used to be a lifeguard, just a fun fact. And I also really, really like sustainability. So if I'm reading anything in my spare time, it's about different initiatives going on. Recently, I like reading books as well. So how did Anne and I meet? So Anne is based in Germany and I'm based in London. And what happened was Anne writes a lot of blog posts, a lot of popular blog posts at that on Medium. She has a Towards Data Science article. And it was so popular that it got turned into an audio article. So I was listening to a couple of those and I thought, this is really interesting, really cool. Some of the posts that I was listening to was about her experience doing her master's, which I just found really interesting. And so I followed Anne on Twitter, where you can see in the slide the tweets that she posted about this Boulder project that she was working on. So I was really interested because it was just so clear and concise how she'd caught the data, what she'd done with the data, what she was planning to do with the data. So I left a comment saying this is really cool, and then maybe a month later, Anne messaged saying, hey, if you want to do some data analysis, you're more than welcome to join, and here we are. So just to emphasize, to make this meetup as interactive as possible, even though right now we're kind of telling you the story of how this project started and where we're at now, it's not really about the tutorials that we're going to share notebooks to later. It's more about maybe how you could start your own project and just follow us along. But yeah, please ask any questions that you have on your way. So as Anne mentioned, we actually, this is part of a meetup series, and our first meetup, we spoke about how we scraped the data, how we applied regex, and how we stored the data in AWS. And then actually later on, we'll share all of the links to where you can get access to the notebook and the slides. So at the start of this tutorial in the notebook, I'll give you access to some pre-scraped data, which if we move on to the next slide, we will start off with some data cleaning. So here's what the data looks like. If you missed out on the last meetup, we have the time of when we collected the data. We have each of the gyms, so all of the different gyms around Munich, Frankfurt, Dortmund, and some of the other locations, how many people are in the gym at the moment, how many people are waiting, and some weather data like the temperature and the status like rain or cloud, and so on. So since the last meetup, scraping the data, the data is still quite messy. We have some missing data. We want to be able to visualize this, but we need to have everything in the correct format. So next slide, please. There are some questions that Anne was really interested in when I joined the project, just to give me a better idea. And some of these include finding out when the busiest day is. So for example, if you're in a specific area and you decide, hey, I want to check out this Boulder gym, there might be a certain time that you decide, say 7 p.m. You check the website, it looks like it's empty, and then you decided to go to the gym, but all of a sudden there's this regular group that goes every evening at that time. But when you checked, it looked empty. So that's why asking these kind of questions are really interesting. So maybe finding out what the busiest day is on average, how full the gyms generally get, maybe specific gyms on specific days. Does the trend change depending on the weather or season? Yeah, there's a bunch of questions that maybe you could guess before analyzing the data yourself, or asking some other questions that maybe we haven't considered. So as I mentioned, the data is really messy right now. And what we'll do is we'll take you through the notebook where we clean the data, and then we'll analyze the data. So maybe we'll produce average data, maybe getting data for a specific day, and then being able to plot that data and visualize it with different Panda libraries like Python libraries like Plotly. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using pandas to clean the data. The gyms open mostly between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. But the data that we were gathering were every 15 minutes through the scraping script, which means that we were gathering data before 7 a.m. as well and after 11 p.m. So it meant that we had to get rid of all of this data. And also at the start of the project, so before I joined, we also didn't actually gather some weather data. So it meant going back using APIs to capture some data for all of the different locations. There were also some parts in the data where we had to remove percentages, format the data so that instead of a float, it's an integer, and making sure that the date, the current time column is in a date format, so you're able to sort and filter it and subset the data when you need to.
Yeah, we will cover all these topics in the notebook, but following the storyline of our project. Once we have a clean list data set, without what can we do with it? Can we get any plots, and can we get any conclusions from the data? The first thing we did was to plot the average occupancy. So how full is this particular gym in this particular day of the week? The gym website says that there are some quiet hours. So apparently the gym website also gathers this data. And they say that during the week before 11 it's quiet, and then on weekends after 8. And I wonder, is that true? We can actually check that with our data. I encourage you to go to the app, go to the website and check it out if that is actually true, if the gym is quiet or not at that time. In the meantime, I can tell the answer. That is not completely true. During the week, I checked that the occupancy is quite low until after work. So between the opening time at 7 until 6 p.m. at around 6. So it's quiet throughout the whole working day. And then in the evening, it's very, very full, as you can see in the website. But it's also very quiet at noon and then also after lunch. equally quiet. So it's not like it increases a bit, it doesn't increase. And then on the weekend, after 8, I found that to be absolutely not true, because the gym is very, very full between 6 and 10, even 10 p.m. The gym is very full. If you go at 8, so at the peak time, you will have to wait a queue to enter the gym. Unless it's raining or unless there's no power or unless no one else goes to the gym. Usually the gyms are very full at this time. So finding out this information was something we could do with the data we had. Then we asked some questions about the data set that maybe we can interactively talk to you about. The first question that we had was, when we are getting data for average data for a specific weekday, we have 7 weekdays, 5 are working days, not the same. Monday is after Sunday, so people maybe are a bit more lazy. Friday is almost weekend, so people behave differently on different days of the week. What if it's a holiday? What if we have a holiday Tuesday? What if during the week, Tuesday, no one goes to the gym, but then on a holiday, everyone goes to the gym? That will mess up our whole computation. How can we do this? Do we leave it as a holiday? Do we leave it as a, do we mark it as it was a Sunday? What should we do? For now, we don't do anything. We leave it as a Tuesday, but maybe in the future we will check the official holidays for Germany, or if we get any other gyms from other countries, we will check the holidays from those countries and adapt this in the future. If you have any ideas how to deal with this problem, you can unmute or write us in the chat, and we are happy to interact. So apparently, my idea is very good, and no one has any comments. Another question was, we have numerical data for the occupancy, so we have 10% full or 50% full. We have numerical data for the queue, 2 people are waiting, 5 people are waiting. We have numerical data for the weather temperature, 19 degrees, 20 degrees. But for the weather type, we have string, we have a word. Is it clear, cloud, thunderstorm, rain? How do we compute that? How do we plot that? How do we compare that? How do we compare the average weather status? If we have 2 clears, 1 cloud, and 1 rain, what is the average? Because you cannot make a comparison between strings. We have to make a comparison between numbers. This is a very typical Python question when you do data analysis, when you're trying to aggregate categorical data, so strings, numbers, not numbers. Instead of numbers, you have text. How do you actually work with that? How do you make the average? How do you do the analysis of that? One idea is to assign them numbers. That makes sense. So if clear is 0, then the closest element to clear would be cloud. So that would have the next number, number 1. Then rain would be a bit closer, and then thunderstorm maybe 3. And in this case, maybe this might work because clear, so sunny and thunderstorm are very, very far apart. The maximum they can be far apart. So they have a distance of 3, difference of 3. In this case, this maybe might work. But in some other cases, when you have genders or locations, it's very difficult to put that in numbers. If you put them in 0, 1, maybe 0, 1, 2, maybe 0 and 2 are not that far apart. Maybe you have locations like Germany, England, and France, and you put 1 number to each location. Doesn't mean that France and England are close together than France and Germany. I think that's a very typical problem. But maybe for our case, it might work like this with numbers. We haven't actually done this yet, but it's in our to-do list. But for some other use cases where you might be having a data set with text, you might have this problem. When you want to train a machine learning model, the machine learning model will expect numbers, not text. You're going to have to transform this somehow. Lina, do you want to take this question?
So another example question is, do people go bouldering more or less when the weather is bad? I think also this question depends on whether the specific gym location is inside or outside, which I guess when you analyze the data and certain gyms are more popular, you would also get an answer to that question. So yeah, I think noticing the trend based on knowledge that you already know is interesting, but also analyzing it so that it's interesting to someone who's not been to that gym before. again, if anyone has any insights to how they would go about answering these questions, put it in the chat below, or feel free to unmute yourself.
About this question, I would like to show you an example of the app that happened actually this weekend. So this is our app. You can check, for example, Munich a couple of weekends ago. So on the 3rd of July, it was a Saturday. The temperatures were quite warm, 24 degrees, and it was more or less full during the day, maybe a bit less at lunchtime. On Sunday, temperature was equally full, but it was quite full in the morning. People left a bit after lunch, and then people came back. This weekend, this Saturday, was not full at all, even though the temperatures were warm. And then on Sunday, it was completely full even after lunch. This is not so common. The temperature was very similar to Saturday. So what if more people go on Sunday than on Saturday? Do more people go by default on Sunday than on Saturday? We can check the average data. On Saturdays for Munich East, we have this average, so 40% until noon, and then in the afternoon around 70%. And then on Sundays, not that much, a bit 60% in the morning, and then less. Maybe people do more things after lunch. But what was so special about this Sunday? Why did so many people go after lunch? Well, the answer was on Saturday in Munich, it was very, very sunny. There was no wind, so people went outdoors. And on Sunday, it rained the whole day. And that's what motivated this change. In normal cases, the occupancy would have been around this, 50%, maybe 70%. But these high numbers were because of the rain. In the future, when we make machine learning predictions, we hope that the machine learning model will learn that the weather status, this data we have, which is don't plot it because we don't know how to plot it, but we have some ideas. We hope that the machine learning model will learn that the weather status is very linked to how much people go to the gym. So this is just an example. But the answer to this question was that people go bouldering much more when the weather is bad because they have nothing else to do, maybe.
So the next question, sorry. So the next question is if one of there are 3 bouldering gyms in Munich, and if one of the gyms is full, does that mean that the other 2 tend to be full? Or maybe 2 of them and one of them tends to be empty all of the time? If a different gym is full more than usual, is that then related to, say for example, Munich East is usually full, but on a particular day, Munich West is full and Munich East isn't? And does that have a relation? Is there any particular reason why that would happen? But yeah, so we have Munich East, Munich West, and Munich South. Does anyone have any ideas about the relationship between the 3 gyms?
Yeah, one can only guess, right? That maybe the gym that's more in the center is probably more occupied during weekdays, maybe because people go after work and it's faster to reach.
Yeah, exactly.
The Munich East was the first thing I was worried, I think, and it's not actually East, it's quite centric. I don't know why you call it East. The ones in the West and South are in the periphery of the city. But yes, East is the one that's fullest usually. But if I was going to the gym and I see the East is full, maybe I would consider going to the West or South one.
Do you make the difference concerning the app?
No, the app just records how full the gyms are, but it would be interesting to get down to draw the conclusion if this happens. If the East gym is unusually busy, maybe the other gyms get busy too, with the same weather, with the same temperature.
So because we're both working on this outside of our day-to-day jobs, sometimes, well, we started collecting data last year, but we found some other problems which we'll discuss in future meetups. But what we would like to do is, when it comes to collecting data for this winter, is do further analysis on this meetup and figure out if there are any high-level trends. Do more or less people decide to boulder depending on the seasons? Is it because of the daylight hours? Is it because of the weather? Actually, there are probably too many reasons. So it's going to be a bit more difficult to determine what factors are affecting changes in the level of occupancy, or how many people decide to wait to use the bouldering gyms. It could be similar to what Anne's idea is, based on how many gyms get busy if the weather's bad, because people are more bored. But even if the weather's bad and it's cold, maybe people don't actually want to boulder. So does anybody have any questions about the data set before they get their hands on the data set? We can leave some time here if anyone needs, or if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, we can show the slide with the data so people can take a look at it more.
Yeah, or even in the chat, let us know if you attended the last meetup where we actually scraped the data. That would be cool to know.
Yeah, I would also just share as a collab notebook from the last session in the chat, so you can follow this up later.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So the first part, we've linked the notebook in the chat. Thank you, Heike. And basically the first part of the notebook, you'll see a data cleaning section. How we've decided to break up the session, because I guess we have half an hour left, is maybe we could do 10 minutes each on the data cleaning, the data analysis, and how to actually create your app locally. The data cleaning section, so the first task 1, I've actually listed 6 different tasks. It's probably not possible, unless you're super efficient with pandas already, to get through all of the different 6 tasks within 10 minutes. So what I'd suggest is maybe picking a couple that you'd like to try now. I've got hints and solutions there for you. And I've linked the unclean data set at the top. Before we move on to task 2, which is data analysis, I've also shared a link to the data set where it's already fully cleaned. But in the second part of the notebook, you'll see that we'll then use some more pandas, and also how we visualized the data using Plotly, which is a cool Python visualization library. And then in task 3, all about Streamlit. Unfortunately, you can't really demo it that well in Colab, but if you have a developer environment set up already, and maybe a package manager like Pip or Anaconda, where you're able to install Streamlit yourself, I've left some starter code in the notebook as well for you to try, and also showed you what the R script for our app looks like. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Feel free, if we're going to get started, feel free to let us know in the chat maybe which exercises you're trying, and I'll give it 10 minutes or so, so we'll be around if you have any questions. If anybody wants myself or Annie to walk through anything as well, I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, I was going to add a section in the data cleaning where we have a task for duplicates, but I last minute cut it out, so I'm glad. I'm glad now. So this is what the notebook looks like. Okay, that's okay. This is what the notebook will look like for you. These are the slides from last meetup and the collab from last meetup. If you use this link, this will send you to a Google Drive where you can download the CSV file with all of the data. Oh, thanks for attending, Andreas. And I've also added a link to our website if you have any questions. So yeah, as mentioned, feel free to pick 2 or 3 tasks before moving on to the data analysis. I've tried to order it so that it's easier to more advanced, but obviously that's subjective. If you're already quite comfortable with pandas and you've done some data cleaning before, feel free to skip to step 6, where I use API to collect some of the weather data for some of the earlier dates that we started scraping bouldering information from.
We hid the solution and the hint just so that your eyes don't directly go there. You can open it by clicking the arrow thing. This data cleaning requires some Canvas knowledge. It requires some Python knowledge. And I think Angelina is quite good with pandas, but when I first did this, I forgot everything I knew about pandas and I had to Google everything. Even very basic stuff.
I think I was also still Googling things, but when you had the list of all of the different, so when I joined the Bouldering Project, Anne had set up a GitHub repository, and so she already outlined how she wanted to clean the data, which made it easy for me if I needed to Google something. And in fact, when we move on to the next section in the data analysis, some of my code, pandas code that I'd written, it was actually great because Annie rewrote my code and optimized it, which is one of the great things about working on a project with someone else.
I think I respectfully rewrote it. I wasn't trying to delete your work or anything. But for example, in pandas are optimized for the pandas. The data frame is a table with rows and columns, but it's not optimized for rows. So if you iterate the rows, that's not what pandas is for. You can do things in parallel when you use columns. So there's a bunch of functions you can use if you want to change different rows instead of iterating through them. You can do it with the apply function in pandas. And that's when you first start using pandas, you don't know about this, so you try to make it work whatever way possible. But then once you have some experience, you try to optimize it for the way that it was thought to be. And then you can actually see that when the data frame is big, so when your table is big, you iterate the rows, it takes a long time. When you do it with columns, it's almost instant.
If you're not familiar with pandas, I've linked in the first hint a great pandas cheat sheet that you might want to use to start getting a bit familiar with playing with the data. I guess the first thing that you're going to want to do is read the CSV, which you can easily use pandas for.
You mentioned we have the link to the dataset, right, in the beginning?
Yes, yeah, at the top.
Just in case anyone missed it, there's a link in the top. And you can download the CSV and then you can read the CSV with Python using pandas. And then it opens that into a table, like the one we showed you in the screenshot during the talk.
But this notebook will be here for you even after the notebook. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Annie or I on Twitter, or even at the next meetup that we present at.
You can also connect with LinkedIn, like Gabriela and Vicky mentioned before. We can connect and expand our network. I think we have the links on our Twitter.
And also something that came to my mind right now, going through the notebook, was when I was totally new to Colab and the notebooks, actually, most big advantage was that you actually can create new cells on this coach plus icon in the upper left. And then you can run individual lines. So you can see what happens when you read the CSV file and put it into one variable, and then you can start dissecting the data.
And you can hit Shift Enter to run the cell. I guess I'll take that.
Yeah, and you
Cheers,
can
then.
just delete it as well. That's true. So it's very good for prototyping and for workshops like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the great things about notebooks. Is everybody happy for us to move on to data analysis, or would you like to spend more time on data cleaning, or maybe you'd have some questions? And also just a note, if you're anything like me, I don't like opening the hint or solution until I've spent the most time trying the task first. But I promise I haven't revealed anything too much in the hints, just some links to articles that will help you out. In the API exercise for gathering weather data that we missed, I actually linked to the article that I used. So that just told me how to use a CDS API for exactly what I needed. And if you want to come back to data cleaning after, again, what I've done is there's another data file, the CSV. Please use this link. The data set will be cleaned so that you can move on to data analysis. And we've outlined 3 steps for some of the data analysis that we've done. Again, this is Anne's doing in our GitHub repository. Again, she created these issues where she outlined some specifications, like from our data set. Our data set is in this format: year, month, day. Day, hour, minute. And how would we then select a specific day of the week given the date in that format? And that is what the first exercise is about. But all you need to do is download the CSV. You can upload it to Colab in the files, and you can access it through there and read the CSV in pandas like so. So you would have your Boulder data frame. And if you've imported your pandas as PD, I won't run this, then you can simply read CSV and find the location that the CSV was saved at. And in this case, it's saved as Meetup clean, just in case anyone's having troubles there. I guess some other pandas tips whilst we're here and people are working their way through their notebooks is, if you want to check out just a snippet of your data frame, you can check out the Boulder data frame head, and running this cell will show you just a snippet of the first few rows of your data frame. So yeah, the first task in the data analysis is to be able to select a day of the week, given how the data is formatted. And then the next task would be to return average data for that day. So now that we're able to find out if a Monday, now that we're able to find out which data in our data set is a Monday or a Tuesday, we should now be able to subset the data. And here's an example of what we're looking for. So you won't even need to show the date, just the hour and minute is fine. It makes it easier to plot later Again, the hints and solutions are there. It would also be really interesting to know how many of you have already used some of the libraries that we're using today, like Pandas or Plotly, and next up Streamlit. Move on to the third task in the data analysis. Oh. Thanks for the feedback. The third part of the data analysis tasks would be to actually plot the data. So this time, instead of plotting average data for a specific day, we just want to plot all of the data for a specific date for a specific gym.
Put a note if we are stressing you out while you're doing the notebook. Please forgive us. And you can continue the notebook after the meetup whenever you want. You can reach out to us, Twitter, LinkedIn. You don't have to finish it today. Hey, Kay, are you doing the notebook?
Yeah, I was just remembering when I started with Pandas, the first thing that stressed me out that you mentioned it was when I had different data types in some cells, even in the same column, because I just added them together from different sources or even from the same source. And this was interesting to check for what data types I have in one column and if they work together or if I have to do something about it. Because before I was just running into errors and I didn't know why, because I thought, hey, this is the one column, it should have the daytime, but actually it can be in so different formats, the date, the time, or both together, depending where the data come from, so even from the same source. Yeah.
Yeah, data types hurt.
And yeah, actually it was in the data analysis part when I started writing some of the functions. I think some of my functions are actually a bit stupidly long. So when Anne optimized them, I was like, this is so much better.
Yeah, I think that's the point with the prototyping as well. In the beginning, you just hack along because you want to have a solution. And then afterwards, you can optimize it and maybe put it into a pipeline, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, my functions always start up being very big but more visual actually. So I see every step, but then they're very long. And then afterwards, when everything works, I start optimizing and putting them together like in a smaller function or do list comprehensions or something like this.
Yeah, for me, when I have to start writing some code, for example, today I had to write some code for work. And I started with a notebook. I got a Jupyter notebook on my computer and I started first get the data, get the input data, open the JSON files, then see them, then slowly get the data I want, and then slowly put the data to the algorithm step by step. I did it in cells so I could see the output, and then once I got it working, then I turned it into functions. Some of the parts were completely useless. I deleted them. Some parts were redundant. I deleted those too. And then in the end, I ended up with a script. But I think for me, at least, starting with a notebook really helps. So I can see every step. I can see the data structures that I'm using, for example, dictionaries or data frames. First, what I always say is first make it work, and then if you have time, make it work better. But don't, at least for me, it doesn't work. If I start trying to optimize something right in the beginning, I start Googling, and then 1 hour goes by, and I'm still stuck, and I haven't done anything.
Also, I think I completely forgot to mention when you access the notebook, your changes won't be saved, so you'll have to copy the notebook to your own Google Drive if you want anything to be saved. And also you'll be able to access the notebook after the meetup ends as well. So on to the third task, the front end. I actually don't have experience using Django or Flask. I have watched tutorials and videos and I get the general gist, but by the time it came to me trying out using web apps with Python, Streamlit had already come along, and Streamlit is a simple open source framework that makes it super easy for any Python developer to create apps. What I've done is I've created a video tutorial. I mean, I've not created the video tutorial. I've linked to a great video tutorial and GitHub repo if you need any help getting started or introduced to Streamlit. And if you wanted to try it out for yourself, you can either use pip or conda to install Streamlit. And then you can create a file called app.py, import Streamlit. And typically everyone uses ST. And within your file, and you create a title and markdown. It's as simple as that. If you want to have some fun, try typing in st, I'll put it in the chat, st.balloons with open and close parenthesis.
This Streamlit is how we got the front end. When you go to the website, boulder.com that we shared earlier, everything you see, the dates, the plots, the text, everything is made with Streamlit. And for the deployment, when you have to do anything, you can, well, maybe for the next meetup, you can deploy it with Streamlit itself. So this is something relatively new that Streamlit has. You can deploy it and then the app is running all the time, because when you run that command, Streamlit run app py, it's running in your computer. If your computer turns off, the website is down. If you want to keep it up, you can deploy it with Streamlit, or the way we did it, we deployed it with Oracle, a different cloud service. The reasons why we didn't choose Streamlit, we will tell you in the next meetup. But yeah, when we did the data analysis, I thought, okay, next step, let's plot this in a website. And I had no idea. I thought, do I have to learn HTML? Well, I know a bit, but do I have to actually learn HTML? Do I have to learn JavaScript? Oh God, so much work. And then Angelina told me, hey, we can use Streamlit. And I said, Streamlit what? You can make a front end with Python. I thought front end means JavaScript and HTML. This was really amazing. It got some getting used to the app, how to make the plots, how to make the drop downs for the selections, but it's very, very easy. No need to worry about HTML.
I mean, also, if you wanted to, you still can incorporate HTML and CSS and JavaScript within your Streamlit app. It's really customized.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really awesome Streamlit gallery that's easily available online. So you could copy and paste some of the demo code that's on there. But yeah, basically when you create your app and you try to run it from your terminal, it means that it's running locally. So no one can access your app yet. On to the next meetup where you'll understand how we actually deployed our app. But if anyone is interested in how we produced our app and what our script looks like for our app, I've written up basically everything that we've had in our app. So all of the imports, some of the lists and dictionaries that we need to actually run the app. And then in this code block, it's basically a safer way to run the app with less hassle or problems. So as you can see here, here's our title. The title for what you can see from your tab, Boulder N, which is the page title, but the title is the other st.title is what you see when you open the actual web page. And yeah, sorry, pardon?
And I was going to say this script, if people try to run it, it's not going to work because the whole packet is missing. The algorithm for getting the data is missing, but at least you can see how we make the markdown, how we plot things. We use Plotly, which is a Python library that also works very well with Streamlit. And if you really want to make this work, then you can write the functions yourself, or maybe when we share the repo in the future, you can do this. And also in the code, you can see how we download the file from S3. Amazon AWS S3 is where we store our data. And here in the piece of code, in the first few lines, you can see how using the Boulder library, that's the AWS library, we download the file.
I believe that brings us to the end of our meetup.
We have some final slides that we can show, like a teaser for the next meetup, stuff like that. So I don't know how far you got along with the exercise, but we hope you liked it. We hope it was, the explanations were good. We hope you are able to clean the data set, or at least you have the links to clean the data set. We hope you learned at least something, and maybe cleaning or analyzing or even looking at the code. And this is the second meetup of the series. So we're gonna have at least another meetup about deployment and DevOps and machine learning maybe. At the end of this meetup, so at the end of the first meetup, we had our data set. After we scraped it, the data set was dirty, but we had it. At the end of this meetup, we have the data set, which is clean, and we have some analysis. And we have our website with Streamlit. How do we keep the website running all the time with deployment, which we will tell you about next. In the next meetup, we deploy it to Heroku. And then how do we manage to scrape the data every 20 minutes? Because if we keep this running, if we keep the script running in our computer, we have to keep the computer on from 7 to 11 at night. What if we leave? So this is also interesting to deploy to the cloud, so it's running all the time. And we will cover that in the next meetup, which will be about cloud and DevOps. We will show you how we store data in GitHub, how we have issues. We have actually a lot of issues. And how we have pull requests to keep the code clean. So instead of pushing to the main branch, we have a branch, and then at the end of the branch, we make a pull request, and then either Angelina or I, the other person, reviews it, and then we approve the changes. We'll show you how we deployed the app to Heroku. We use Docker containers, and then we'll show you how we make the backend in AWS so it keeps running every 20 minutes. So you can follow us on Twitter if you want to hear about our stories. Also on LinkedIn, you can stay tuned at PyLadies Berlin for next meetups, for our third meetup and all the meetups that they do. Thank you so much for attending this meetup.
Yeah, thank you guys. And also Heike has put a feedback form in the chat, so if you could leave us some feedback, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So I have to fill it too.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We're happy about your feedback, and thanks for everybody for joining and for speaking today. It was very cool. I learned so much today.